Hello, BookTube. It's time for the mail. It's up for a little mail on this rainy Tuesday. Is this a rainy Tuesday? I can't remember if it's a rainy Tuesday or a rainy Monday. No. It was a rainy Monday, a pouring rain Monday yesterday, in which I got caught in the rain without an umbrella and soaked to the skin, and in which I had a guest over, a young litterateur over again. He did not want to be on camera. Some people, I don't know. I'll keep working on him. But we talked about so many it was just wonderful. It was just wonderful. Although fate did its worst to make the evening fail. Because right before he got here, literally 3 minutes before he walked in the door, the power went out. The electricity went off on the whole block. And it was the sun was still an hour away from setting. The place was deep in shadow because it's been pouring rain all day. So I thought, when something like that happens, you can't be sure that you're going to have lights by the time it's dark. So I had to, break out the candles, find them, get them all going. And the power wasn't coming back on, but we were still having a fine time talking about books and writing, especially writing. And then it was time to eat. And we called the place next door to see if they also were afflicted with no power, and if so, could they make any food? And they said that they could, but that their debit card reader wasn't working. So we were immediately thrown back on what kind of cash was in the room. And as usual, when you're caught unawares with what kind of cash is in the room, there's never enough cash in the room. It was a hash of a thing. It ended up being fine. Ended up being just fine. And the electricity came back on while my guest was still here. It wasn't even that long an outage. But it was pouring the whole time. Yesterday was an ongoing battle of wills between me and the little bean, because she does not like going out in the rain. She doesn't even like it being raining. It makes her all dispirited. Even inside in shelter, it makes her dispirited. Doesn't it? It does. She hates the rain. Just hates it. And so this morning's walk was no better. This morning it was also raining, and she wanted no part of it. We're hoping for better, right? We're hoping for better. We are, aren't we? She's still being really, really good. There's something I learned, something I was reminded of every minute of every day that we were away in Vermont. I have a wonderful dog. Just a wonderful dog. And it's so egregious that it stops people, even when they are thinking about other things. My guest last night at one point stopped and said, "Well, you're adorable, aren't you?" Not to knock my girls. They were adorable too. But they needed a lot more concessions. Frida doesn't need any concessions. She's meeting everybody outright with how nice she is. You don't have to dig around. You don't have to put up with seismic farting or incredible trembling nervousness or anything like that. She's just an in-your-face, wonderful, happy, friendly dog. But anyway, let's do the mail. Let's see. There's not quite as few packages as yesterday, but not anywhere near, of course, the mountain of packages that I had when I got back here. When I got back to High Cottage. Yes, baby. Oh, you're right on top of things. All right. So what have we got here? Okay. All right. First one is a bit of a mystery. Kind of strange. Comes out in early May, May 7th. Oh my God, just unbelievable. Every book in the world is coming out in early May. It's not unusual in that it's one of Simon & Schuster's best earning authors. I just don't understand the title. That's all. The author is Richard Paul Evans, that a lot of you will know from The Walk. Only the title of the book is Review Copy Not for Resale, which is a lot more humdrum than a lot of these titles are. But let's see here. This is a dramatic and riveting conclusion to the New York Times best-selling Broken Road trilogy from beloved storyteller Richard Paul Evans. Everyone believes he was killed in a fiery plane crash. This is his main character, not Richard Paul Evans. A flight he narrowly missed. Thanks to that remarkable twist of fate, he's very much alive and ready for a second chance at love and life. Escaping death has brought Charles some clarity. The money, the fame, the expensive cars, none of it brought him true joy or peace. The last time he was truly happy was when he was married to his ex-wife Monica before their relation was destroyed by his ambition and greed. So this is this series began with The Broken Road and The Forgotten Road, And now the third book in the trilogy is called Review Copy Not for Resale, which kind of breaks the flow of the other titles. But I guess the publisher knows best. I am assuming that Review Copy Not for Resale is the title of this book because it's by far the most prominent thing on the cover. So, I mean, what else could it be? You know? A schoolboy warning to professional book reviewers not to steal from you while they're doing your publicity department credit for free? Can't be that. Who'd be churlish enough to do that? No, it's got to be that they just retitled the book. It can't be that you're lecturing the people who are helping to sell your book. It can't be that. So let's move on here. Let's move on. Away from Review Copy Not for Resale. What is the next one that we have? Okay, it's from the people at Harvard University Press. Do I even need to look? It's going to be May 7th. Do I even need to look? Yeah, okay. All right. So what is this? Okay, this is... Oh, all right. This is by a consortium of authors. It's a slim volume, thank God. It's called How to Democratize Europe. And as you can see, it has 4 contributors, one of whom is Thomas Piketty, who I've had to grapple with in 2,000-page books. Even though I don't know anything about economics, I still had to grapple with him in 2,000-page books. What have we got here, then? An all-star cast of scholars and politicians from Europe and America propose and debate the creation of a new European Parliament. The European Union is struggling. The rise of Eurosceptic parties in member states, economic distress in the South, the migrant crisis, and Brexit top the news. But deeper structural problems may be a greater long-term peril. Not least is the economic management of the Eurozone, the 19 countries that use the euro. How can this be accomplished in a way generally acceptable to members given a political system whose structures are routinely decried for a lack of democratic accountability? Okay. So it's not a long book, but it's all about the European economy. So it seems that some sort of economics person is probably best qualified to review it. I'll have to make sure to get it in the mail to such a person right away. So let's move on. What have we got next here? Okay. All right. Okay. Well, you're going to recognize this person definitely. This is a biography by Lawrence Welsher. And it's called How Are You, Dr. Sachs? It's a biographical memoir of Oliver Sacks. That is Oliver Sacks as a Santa-bearded old man. Not a quite different picture from Oliver Sacks in a tight leather-jacketed young man stage. And this is a book that is in some ways nearly 4 decades in the making. In 1981, when all the world made sense, a young New Yorker staff writer stepped up to the rickety front porch of an old house in the Bronx to meet an unusual profile subject. The idiosyncratic British neurologist who lived there was still barely known to most people. His most recent book, a dramatic account of psychiatric patients briefly awakened from decades of catatonia with a controversial drug, had gotten a curiously divided reception. Though it vexed the medical community, the book's extraordinary artistry had captivated literary critics. It had captivated the author of this book as well, Lawrence Welsher, who... What, he couldn't stop wondering, must that doctor's experience have been like for him? What was it like to see patients transform from and back to human statues? Oh, okay, and Welsher had a relationship with Sacks, and they were friends. And this is, no wonder this is called a memoir, so this could be really fascinating, really touching. I'm assuming if it's an advanced copy that it does not come out on May the 7th, which would be really nice if it didn't come out on May the 7th. Oh, no, it comes out in August. All right, so those of you who have read, Dr. Sacks or his famous books or seen the Robin Williams movie, probably be very interested in this book when it comes out. This is due at the end of the summer. Interesting, a biographical memoir. Okay, all right, let's push on here. No boxes this time around. Let's see what this next one is. This is also an ARC, so this also might not be May the 7th. Any relief that my May the 7th pile can get would be welcome. Oh. Okay. All right, this is a translation. This is translated from the French by Amy Reed. It's When the Plums Are Ripe by Patrice Nagang, with a boring sepia tone photograph on the cover, even though this is a novel. In December of 2017, Cameroonian-American novelist, poet, and dissident Patrice Nagang, Ganang, was arrested and imprisoned in Cameroon's capital, following the publication of an article that criticized the nation's government. Held without bail in a maximum security prison, he expected to face trial until charges were dropped against him amid international pressure on the Cameroonian government to release the author. His novel, When the Plums Are Ripe, translated from the French by Amy Reed, is thus an occasion to celebrate the author's indomitable spirit and determination to set on paper the story of his homeland. Set in Cameroon during World War II, it is the second volume of a magisterial trilogy that brings the country and its people to life. Wow. Wow, okay. This could be really important. Okay. And yet again, another historical novel in a year that is crammed full of them. Okay, so this comes out in mid-August. When the Plums Are Ripe. And if you've been watching these mail hauls for any length of time, you're going to know automatically. Some of you are going to be very familiar with the way I think about new books that I get in the mail. How could you not be? And you'll have picked up right away. Your ears will have picked up right away. And the one detail in that pub sheet that I am now obsessing about, this is the second volume in a trilogy. Can the publicist get me the first volume? Or can I go and get it at the library? I'll have to determine what the first one is. I'm almost certain that I did not read it. And get it, because I don't want to go into something like this without knowing the first volume. All right, so let's move on here. Let's move on. What have we got next? The bean has given up on her. Oh no, she hasn't. she was just sort of laying there hanging out. I dropped the manila envelope down on the floor, and she reached across and grabbed it. She's just given up on jumping around. That's all. Let's see. Oh my. Oh goodness. Okay. Okay. This is from Harvard University Press. This is due in the first week of May. And the author is Andreas Galasanka. And the book is called John Rawls, The Path to a Theory of Justice. John Rawls, it was a philosopher who wrote an incredibly influential book called Theory of Justice. And this is a biography of the man and that book, it sounds like. This is an engaging account of the titan of political philosophy and the development of his most important work, A Theory of Justice. It is hard to overestimate the influence of John Rawls on political philosophy and theory over the last half-century. His books have sold millions of copies worldwide, and is one of the few philosophers whose work is known in the corridors of power as well as in the halls of academe. Someone hasn't been keeping up on current events. John Rawls is not read in the corridors of power in America anymore. Maybe they mean other corridors of power. No books are read in the corridors of power in America. They're scorned. The reading of them is scorned. The boss, as everyone calls him, scorns reading any book at all, or owning them, except if you own The Art of the Deal. If you own The Art of the Deal and he sees that in your office, that's fine. If you have anything else, it's scornful. Scorned. It's not just that these people don't read, and of course the boss can't read. He's not able to read. He is illiterate. But it's that they scorn it as well. So John Rawls, The Theory of Justice, they're going to have to wait for some other administration. Probably 6 people in the Obama administration knew the book really well and remembered it from school. But not now. No. In that book, Rawls develops a liberalism focused on improving the fate of the least advantaged and attempts to demonstrate that, despite our differences, agreement on basic political institutions is both possible and achievable. And possible and achievable are synonyms, so that's overwriting on the part of the pub sheet writer. But no one doubted that anyway. And Rawls' book, I must be the only person in the world who read A Theory of Justice and thought, what a load of malarkey. You're a better writer than a lot of philosophers are, but this is still just a gigantic bottle of turbulent, bottled hot air. Doesn't have any substance to it, no sinews, no meat, no motion, no momentum, no muscles, no nothing. It's no nothing at all. What you are doing is taking self-evident stuff and also impossibilities, mixing them together in a kind of goulash, and then boiling the goulash until nothing is left except aroma of goulash, and then you bottle that into a book. I'm not the right person to ask about it, clearly. Critics have maintained that Rawls' view is unrealistic. Well, yes, yes, it's a fantasy land. What he proposes a fantasy land and then writes an entire philosophic construct about it without ever admitting that it's a fantasy land to begin with, which is not something that J.R.R. Tolkien did. He would not have told you that Beleriand was real. He would not have said that. If you'd asked him, he would have said, well, yes, I have given you every single last little detail of Minas Tirith. Its history, its founding, its legends, its lore, its poetry, its people, their achievements. But I don't believe that it exists. Maybe Rawls wouldn't either. I don't know. Never got drunk with the man, so I don't know. And in this book, the author argues that in misunderstanding the origin and development of Rawls' central argument, previous narratives fail to explain the novelty of his philosophical approach. Okay, all right. Well, that is fairly daring, because Rawls' book has been looked at by some megawatt intellects, and you're calling them all wrong. You're saying that all of them misunderstood the book until you. So who are you when you're at home? Now I'm naturally curious. Andreas Galasanka is the author of a 20th century political thought, especially that of John Rawls and Wittgenstein. She must be fun at parties. He is an associate professor at Wake Forest University, where he teaches courses on contemporary political theory and the history of political thought. Okay, so he's been over the subject many, many times. I'm still going to be interested to see how he calls everybody else wrong. We'll see. I have a feeling that this book needs to be sent out as well to a possible recipient. Let's see here. Let's move on. Oh, fantastic. Okay. Okay, this comes out in October, so I have a long time to wait. And it's a fascinating story. Just fascinating. And now it's got a book. Fantastic. This is by Rick McIntyre, and it is The Rise of Wolf 8. Witnessing the triumph of Yellowstone's underdog. The wolves were eradicated from Yellowstone, and now they're being reintroduced because, of course, they are keystone apex predators. And the whole ecosystem changes when they're not there. And it changes back when they are there. And it is inarguable that an ecosystem is healthier with apex predators at the top, if the apex predator is not human. So what have we got here? Let's see. Yellowstone National Park was once the home to an abundance of wild wolves, but park rangers killed the last of their kind in the 1920s. Decades later, park rangers brought them back, with the first wolves arriving from Canada in 1995. This is the incredible true story of one of those wolves. Wolf 8 struggles at first. He is smaller than the other pups and often bullied, but soon he bonds with an alpha female whose mate was shot. An unusually young alpha male, barely a teenager in human years, Wolf 8 rises to the occasion, hunting skillfully and even defending his family from the wolf who killed his father. But soon he faces a new opponent, his adopted son, who mates with a violent alpha female. Can Wolf 8 protect his valley without harming his protege? I'm hoping that this has, despite the pub sheet, I'm hoping that this has a lot of stress on the nature of wolves in Yellowstone. The nature of wolves in Yellowstone is what I want to read about. I don't want to read Meerkat Manor for wolves. I don't want to read just the popular TV stuff where a cameraman or a camera crew will follow a particular group of animals and violently anthropomorphize the whole time, so that you have, I mean, that pub sheet read like a digest of Hamlet, and that doesn't happen. That doesn't have, the events happen, but not the spin, not the anthropomorphizing. So I'm hoping that the book downplays that a little in favor of the science, the natural history, which is fascinating enough on its own. So, all right, and then we have one more package and we're done here. Then I will clean up the floor of the room and see if the bean wants to go outside. It's lightly misting now, so maybe that'll be good enough for her. What have we got here? It's a big, heavy thing. Oh, okay, great. All right, this is a double, and this is not May. This is actually April. Yeah, this is the last day of April. We saw it before on this channel. We saw it just recently. This is Mitchell Zukof's Fall and Rise, the first big narrative history of 9/11. And that's what this is. He wrote 13 Hours, the book about Benghazi. And now he's written about 9/11. He was reporting about 9/11 when it was happening for the Boston Globe. Yeah, that's what this is. Just a huge. What does Kirkus Reviews have to say about it? A meticulously delineated, detailed, graphic history of the events of 9/11 in New York City, at the Pentagon, and in Pennsylvania, Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where one of the planes hit the ground. Probably because the hijackers were interfered with by the passengers. Probably. That's the reason. Despite the story's sprawling cast, which could have sabotaged a book by a less skilled author, Zukov ably handles all of the complexities. A contemporary history, Fall and Rise, is a clear and moving success. And I'm very happy to report that I am going to be reviewing this for the Christian Science Monitor in May. It comes out on the last day of April, so there's no point in squeezing it into an already crowded April schedule. Instead, I will be doing it for May, and this is the kind of book whose critical conversation I really want to be involved with. I really want to be part of this, and I am in a way involved in these conversations, even with Open Letters. But I'm perfectly willing to admit, Open Letters is a small venue, whereas the Christian Science Monitor isn't quite so small. So, and when you really want to be involved in a conversation, I hate to say it, it's a terrible, pitiless metric, but the bigger the audience, the better. So I'll gladly take it. I'll be very happy to review this for them. And that's it. That is our mail haul for this Misty Tuesday. So we have Fall and Rise. That's a double. Then we have The Rise of Wolf 8, about one particular wolf reintroduced into Yellowstone. But I'm hoping about all the wolves reintroduced into Yellowstone. Then we have a book on John Rawls and the theory of justice. It's a book about a book. Then we have When the Plums Are Ripe, the second volume in a trilogy about Cameroon history, a historical novel. Then And How Are You, Dr. Sachs, by a friend of his, writing a biographical memoir about Dr. Sachs. That could be really touching. Then How to Democratize Europe, 4 mucky mucks get together and hypothesize on how to do that, and one of them is Thomas Piketty. And then a review copy not for resale, the final volume in a trilogy by Richard Paul Evans, a best-selling tearjerker type, lightweight sentimental novelist, whose the previous 2 volumes in the trilogy had Road in the title. This one is oddly titled, but that's okay. I'll read the book anyway. And quite a few of these, I have to read right away. So this is not a relax and catch you later mail haul at all. I need to get to these things, but that's okay. That's what I'm here for. So I will wrap this up and go do that. But first, a little outside time with the bean I think would be good. We'll see what she's up for. Thank you, Book 2.